However, from a procedural perspective, what we need to do is to act in accordance with the requirements of the IMO Convention and the rules of procedure. Article 19C of the IMO Convention and Rule 3 of the Council's Rules of Procedure clearly stipulate the requirement of 1 month of notice. Although Rule 58 of the Rules of Procedure allows the Council, by a majority decision, to suspend the application of a specific rule, we would like to emphasize that Rule 59 also establishes the overriding authority of the IMO Convention, namely that in the event of any conflict between any provision of these rules and any provision of the Convention shall prevail. Furthermore, in accordance with Article 21C of the Convention, substantive matters such as maritime safety and environmental protection shall be considered by the Council only after obtaining the views of the relevant technical committees. This requirement is set out in the Convention rather than in the Rules of Procedure. Therefore, this requirement is not subject to any waiver. In our view, the requirement of 1 month's notice provides member states with sufficient time to prepare for meetings, conduct domestic consultations, and comment on the documents. And this is an essential condition for ensuring a successful session. Let's look back to 4 years ago. This delegation recalls that in 2022, at the 35th extraordinary session of the Council, a similar debate took place. In line with your proposal, at that time, the Council invited member states to submit suggestions regarding amendments to the IMO Convention or the Rules of Procedure in relation to extraordinary sessions. Afterwards, this organization carried out a systematic review and revision of the Rules of Procedure, including the requirement for 1 month's notice. The response from member states was not to relax the notice requirement for extraordinary sessions. On the contrary, the revised rules further strengthened the requirement of 1 month's notice. This requirement is applicable not only to regular sessions, but also to extraordinary sessions. In conclusion, this delegation reiterates that we welcome this organization exploring by any means, including convening meetings, solutions conducive to enhancing navigation safety in the Gulf region and safeguarding the welfare of seafarers. However, we wish to emphasize that procedural rules form the foundation of this organization's work and must be observed so as to avoid setting undesirable precedents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. France, please. Thank you, sir, and good day to you all. France is one of the 8 members who requested the convening of this 36th Extraordinary Council session at IMO because we find ourselves in an exceptional, a grave and urgent situation affecting maritime safety and the safety of seafarers as well as freedom of navigation, all of which fall within the IMO's purview. Therefore, this matter must be considered by the organisation as soon as possible without awaiting a month, given the growing difficulties for stranded seafarers. The IMO Council cannot and must not remain silent and wait before meeting because of procedural issues with regard to a situation which is affecting on a daily basis safety and security of global shipping. Council has in the past considered such situations, as has been recalled, and we therefore believe that this situation is perfectly legitimate.
Gracias a Francia, Japón.
Thank you, Chair. And alongside the previous speakers, we would like to express our support for convening an extraordinary session in the manner articulated in Circular Letter number 5148, given the need and the urgency of this situation. We are deeply saddened by the series of fatalities and injuries resulting from attacks on merchant vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, and firmly believe that ensuring freedom of navigation, as well as the safety of vessels and seafarers, is a matter of vital interest to all nations. In this regard, we recognize that an extraordinary session of the Council is not a forum for discussing geopolitical issues, and that convening a meeting as a matter of urgency to discuss maritime safety in the current circumstances does not constitute unfair treatment of any particular country, and we therefore support its convening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And a good day to you all. I will be brief. We are one of the 8 members requesting the convening of this extraordinary session of Council, and our delegation has listened carefully to statements made by preceding speakers. We would like to agree with what has been said. We, of course, must fully comply with the rules of the organization. Numerous reasons have been advanced, and I'm not going to repeat them, to explain the importance of the convening of this extraordinary session, and we fully support this approach for the 36th extraordinary session of the IMO Council, and we call on other members of the Council to lend their support to this. Thank you.
Gracias, Arabia Saudí.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. The Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chair. The Republic of Korea believes that, given the urgent situation in the region, due consideration should be given to the urgency of discussion on ensuring the safety of seafarers and ships. Therefore, the Republic of Korea would like to inform the Council that we support the convening of the 36th extraordinary session of the IMO Council. Thank you, Chair.
Gracias, República.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Australia condemns Iran's attacks against countries in its region, including those listed in Security Council Resolution 2817, and Iran's attacks on merchant vessels in the Gulf region. These attacks are a dangerous escalation and threaten the lives of innocent seafarers, the safety of merchant shipping and the marine environment. Australia, together with many others, joined the United Arab Emirates' request for today's extraordinary session because we cannot stand by while threats to the lives of seafarers and the safety and security of global maritime trade intensify by the day. This Council has a responsibility to act urgently and decisively. Australia notes Russia's paper under this item, and Australia once again condemns Russia's unprovoked and unjustified full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This meeting was called because we must urgently act to address threats to the lives of seafarers and the safety and security of global maritime trade. This Council has dealt with urgent matters on short timeframes in the past, we must do so again.
Muchas gracias a la delegación de...
Thank you, Australia. Given the statements with regard to waivers that we have heard thus far and requests for interventions already made to the Secretary-General, I take it that Council agrees to invoke Article 58 of its Rules of Procedure and to waive that portion of Rule 3 requiring at least 1 month's notice in advance of holding this session, along with the portion of Rule 15 requiring the Secretary-General to distribute the agenda for the meeting at least 1 month in advance of the meeting. And I take it that delegations on the screen who have requested the floor have done so also to support invoking Article 58, and I would therefore ask you that if you agree with my proposed approach, that you kindly withdraw your request to speak.
Muchas gracias por su colaboración.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. It is so decided. With regard to media, I would like to inform Council that, in accordance with the terms and conditions of media attendance at meetings of IMO Assembly, Council, committees and their subsidiary bodies adopted by the Council, the media may attend plenary meetings of the Council unless the Council decides otherwise. The list of these media representatives has been published in Council document C/ES 36J/2. If there's no objection, I take it that Council grants this request. It is so decided. Turning to meeting arrangements, as per Rule 4 of the Rules of Procedure of the Council, sessions of the Council shall be held in person at the organisation's headquarters, supported by hybrid meeting capabilities, unless convened elsewhere in accordance with a Council decision. All Council members who've registered on the online meeting registration system will be deemed to be present within the meaning of Rule 40.1 of the Rules of Procedure of Council. I therefore now declare the 36th extraordinary session of the Council open. I'd like to inform the Council that working hours for plenary are as follows. The morning meeting will run from 9:30 to 12:30 p.m. with a coffee break from 11 to 11:30, and the afternoon session from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. with a tea break from 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Make some announcements with regard to the conduct of the meeting. Mrs. Premper, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to everyone. The first announcement relates to the seating arrangements and country nameplates. As is customary, Council members have been seated in the middle part of the room and observer delegations on either side. Can we kindly request delegates not to move the country name cards from the assigned places as it impacts the request to speak and the conduct of the meeting? Regarding hybrid capabilities, the guidance on hybrid capabilities is available in Circular Letter number 4627, Guidance on the Use of IMO Hybrid Meeting Capabilities. The guidance on the single request to speak with a tutorial video is also available on the IMO Docs Hot Topic page. Following the adoption of the Code of Conduct for delegates, observers, and other participants at IMO meetings, events, and activities to prevent harassment, including sexual harassment. This is a reminder that all participants in this session are subject to the Code of Conduct and invited to familiarize themselves with the code, which can be found in Circular Letter number 4908. We would also kindly like to request delegations to send any statements or remarks as far in advance as possible to statements@imo.org. And in the email subject, please specify the meeting, delegation, and agenda item the statement relates to, and this will greatly assist the interpreters in their work. For housekeeping matters and additional information for participation in IMO meetings, these have been shown on the screen and they can also be found on IMO Docs. May I take this opportunity to request delegates that have not already done so to kindly submit their credentials as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias, señor.
Thank you, Mrs. Prempe. We will now continue with the adoption of the agenda. I would like to remind all delegates that, unlike committees which produce detailed reports, the Council issues a summary of decisions. Please note that individual statements will not be attached to this summary, as the session is being recorded. Delegates' interventions will be available on IMO Docs as audio records in due course. As you're aware, we have a busy agenda ahead. In order to ensure that we conclude our work efficiently, I kindly encourage you once again to keep your statements as concise as possible, and I therefore propose that any documents submitted be introduced with a statement limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. I can assure you that I will do my utmost to facilitate a smooth session, and as ever, I appreciate your customary cooperation in helping us to achieve our goals. If there's no objection, my intention is to take general statements after the adoption of the agenda, and I will inform you in due course when you may do so. Let's now turn to the first item on our agenda, namely the adoption of the agenda. The provisional agenda for this session is contained in document CES 36/1, and I would like to invite delegates to make any comments on that document. The floor is open.
Entiendo que
Well, I take it that Council agrees to the adoption of the agenda for this session, and if there is no objection, it is so decided. As I was saying, before we have general comments, I'd like firstly to invite the Secretary General to make his introductory remarks. You have the floor, sir. Thank you very much, sir, and a very good morning to you all. And I welcome you to this 36th extraordinary session of the Council. At the outset, I must first express my grave concern and my deep sadness regarding the recent attacks on merchant ships in the region of the Strait of Hormuz, as a result of which, as we've heard, at least 7 seafarers have lost their lives and several others have been severely injured. My thoughts are with the families and the loved ones of those affected, as well as with the global maritime community, which mourns these tragic losses. At present, around 20,000 seafarers remain stranded inside the Persian Gulf, on board vessels facing high risk and considerable mental strain. My thoughts are also with these seafarers. Despite these challenges, they continue to perform their duties with professionalism and resilience. I continue to monitor the situation closely, and I reiterate my call for all shipping companies to exercise the utmost caution when operating in the affected region and, to the extent possible, to avoid passing through it. I will never tire of repeating myself when I say that any attack on innocent seafarers or civilian shipping is totally unacceptable. They must not become victims of broader geopolitical tensions. Therefore, I urge all parties, all of you, to work towards the de-escalation of the conflict and to allow these crew members to leave the Gulf safely on board their ships. During this Council meeting, you will have the opportunity to engage in dialogue and to focus on solutions acceptable to all parties, in order at all times we must remember to protect all innocent seafarers as well as the safety of navigation and of the marine environment. And I warmly urge you to focus on substantive deliberations and practical measures related to the proposals before you. Time is short, and we all bear a serious responsibility towards the affected seafarers. As I have emphasized publicly, I urge all stakeholders to remain vigilant against disinformation and to rely, when making operational decisions, only on verified, authoritative sources. To support this effort, the organization has made available a dedicated web page providing regularly updated and verified information on the evolving situation. And I stand in solidarity with the many crews who continue to keep global shipping moving under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. This situation is unacceptable, and unsustainable. Shipping has demonstrated time and again how resilient it is, but geopolitics are testing the sector to the limit. And every time that shipping is used as collateral damage in these conflicts, the whole world is negatively affected, from the global economy to food security, which underscores the importance of freedom of navigation, of seafarers, and of the sector as a whole. I am confident that under the able leadership of your chair, Mr. Victor Jiménez Fernandez of Spain, and your vice chair, Mrs. Amane Fetala of Morocco, the Council will achieve its goals. And of course, you can continue to count on the full commitment and support of the Secretariat and myself in the course of your work and subsequently. Thank you very much, sir.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Secretary General. And I do trust that your remarks will be taken into account by delegations in the course of this extraordinary session of the Council. I'd now like to open the floor for general statements and would remind you again of the need to keep your interventions to a maximum of 3 minutes. The United Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا السيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Chair. The United Arab Emirates expresses its rejection and condemnation in the strongest terms of the Islamic Republic of Iran's unprovoked, unjustifiable, indiscriminate, and wholly unlawful attacks against my country and other GCC countries. Iran's attacks constitute a serious breach of our sovereignty, territorial integrity that includes our territorial waters, and a flagrant violation of fundamental rules and principles of international law, including the Charter of the United Nations. Iran's malign activity is harmful to international shipping and accordingly poses a serious threat to maritime safety and security and the marine environment. Iran's attacks have yielded death and severe injury to several seafarers and shipyard workers. Accordingly, Iran's attacks threaten the safety and security of seafarers and international shipping, and they constitute a violation of fundamental principles of maritime law, such as the freedom of navigation, and are a dangerous threat to international peace and security. The UAE further condemns in the strongest terms Iran's targeting of civilian infrastructure, including transport hubs, service facilities, and residential areas, in violation of international law. These heinous attacks have resulted in civilian fatalities, injuries, and material damage. They invoke terror to civilian populations in the region and consequently threaten their safety and security. The UAE affirms its inherent right to self-defense under international law as recognized in Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, and rejects Iran's baseless invocation of the same provision to justify its attacks against the UAE and other GCC countries. The UAE will take all necessary measures consistent with international law to protect its territory and populations within it. The UAE reaffirms the importance of safeguarding regional airspace, maritime routes, and the freedom of navigation in the Arabian Gulf, especially in the Strait of Hormuz, so as to ensure the safety and security of supply chains and the stability of global energy markets. Thank you, Chair.
Gracias a Emiratos Árabes.
Thank you to the UAE. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Indonesia is closely following recent incidents affecting commercial shipping and seafarers along key maritime routes. These incidents serve as a stark reminder that tensions in critical maritime corridors can have far-reaching implications for international shipping, global supply chains, and energy security, impacting not only the immediate region, but also countries such as Indonesia. In this regard, Indonesia expresses its deep concern over the incidents affecting merchant vessels and the growing number of innocent seafarers who have become victims. We extend our deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of those who have lost their lives. Indonesian seafarers have also been affected, and we sincerely hope that no further lives will be placed at risk. Indonesia recalls the Secretary General's clear message that there can be no justification for attacks against seafarers and commercial shippings under any circumstances. Seafarers play an indispensable role in sustaining global trade, and their safety, protection, and well-being must remain a top priority for the international maritime community. We also wish to underline our particular concern for Indonesian seafarers who represent a significant portion of the global maritime workforce. As one of the world's major seafarers supplying countries, Indonesia places the highest importance on ensuring that seafarers can carry out their duties in a safe and secure working environment. Indonesia calls upon all states to fully comply with their obligations under international law, including relevant IMO instruments, to ensure the safety of navigation, maritime security, and the protection of marine environment. All parties and stakeholders must take the necessary measures to ensure that commercial shipping and seafarers are not exposed to risks arising from heightened tensions. Indonesia also reiterates the importance of maintaining freedom of navigation and safeguarding the stability of critical maritime routes, which are essential for global trade and energy security. At the same time, Indonesia believes that discussion within the Council should remain focused on the IMO's technical mandate, particularly in addressing risks to maritime safety and the protection of seafarers, as well as identifying practical measures to prevent further incidents and avoid escalation at sea. In this context, Indonesia underscores the importance of restraint and constructive dialogue among all parties. We support continued monitoring of the situation within the IMO framework to ensure that maritime safety and the protection of seafarers remain at the forefront of our collective efforts. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Indonesia. Egypt, please.
شكرا السيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like to express the solidarity, full solidarity of Egypt with our fraternal countries in the Gulf and with the citizens of the UAE, Jordan, and Iraq. And I would like to express condolences to the martyrs and those wounded in these attacks. And we hope to see early recovery of all of the injured. Here we wish to emphasize that Egypt resolutely and wholeheartedly condemns the Iranian attacks against the countries of the Gulf and against the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, as well as the sister Republic of Iraq. We see no justification to warrant these attacks on the territorial integrity of fraternal countries in the region. Chairperson, the escalation we're witnessing in the region compels us to resort to the path of diplomacy and the wisdom of dialogue to contain that escalation. Otherwise, the disastrous and dangerous consequences will continue to jeopardize peace and international stability. For these reasons, Egypt, in the previous period, has sought to conduct intensive consultations, large-scale, widespread consultations with the various stakeholders and the fraternal countries in the region and internationally. And the aim of those consultations and negotiations has been deconfliction and de-escalation in order to avoid a spread of the conflict. The ultimate goal is to protect the safety and security of international shipping and the safety and security of international maritime routes so that there may be a normal flow of shipping traffic through those essential waterways and ultimately guarantee the safety of seafarers and sailors. And in this context, we wish to restate emphatically once again our unchanging position. The safety of international shipping must be guaranteed. There must be a rejection and refusal of any attempts to hamper that shipping because those hindrances and impediments are a threat to stability and peace in the region and a threat to international trade. Egypt will make every possible effort to restore stability in the region. Chairperson, in conclusion, we wish here to stress that Egypt is resolutely committed to supporting every effort to guarantee peace and security, as well as stability. And among those endeavors, we also include efforts to ensure safety of navigation and guaranteeing international supply chains. We are convinced that the future of the region must be built upon the basis of cooperation, peace, and respect for international law. The countries and peoples of the region deserve to live in peace. Thank you, sir.
Gracias a...
Thank you, Egypt. Peru, please.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Chair. Peru supports and joins in the consensus of members of the Council for holding this extraordinary session. Our organization and our Council must be in a position to meet urgently when circumstances warrant, and that is the case with the circumstances which led to the holding of this session. The delegation of Peru is closely following the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic, crucial shipping route. And in this context, we think it's essential to maintain conditions which guarantee safety and continuity of international shipping and the protection of seafarers. At the same time, we wish to stress the importance of the commitments entered into by member states in the International Maritime Organization and the instruments adopted under its aegis, such as the SOLAS Convention, the MARPOL Convention, and the Facilitation Convention. respect for those norms is essential for guaranteeing security and safety of shipping and seafarers and maintaining international shipping trade, particularly when it may be affected by crucial shipping routes. In accordance with Resolution 2857 adopted by the UN Security Council and supported by a country, we resolutely condemn the attacks by Iran against countries of the Gulf, and we stress that any attempt to hamper shipping in the Strait of Hormuz is a major threat to international peace and security. And lastly, Peru wishes to express its solidarity with the countries of the Gulf and the ships and seafarers affected by the current situation in this region. Thank you.
Gracias a Perú.
Thank you, Peru. Saudi Arabia, please.
سيد الرئيس.
Chair, Secretary General, Excellencies, Member States present and online, peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. At the outset, I would like to express the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's appreciation to the International Maritime Organization and to the Secretary General for their continuous efforts in supporting the security and safety of maritime navigation during these delicate times in which the world and the region are witnessing serious tensions affecting the stability of seas and vital waterways. Chair, this delegation reiterates the Kingdom's officially declared and firm position, its unequivocal condemnation of the wrongful Iranian attacks against the Kingdom, the Gulf Cooperation Council states, and a number of Arab, Islamic, and friendly countries. These attacks are utterly unacceptable and unjustifiable under any circumstances, and the Kingdom affirms its full right to take all necessary measures to safeguard its security, sovereignty, and the safety of citizens and residents, and to deter aggression. Attacks targeting civilian infrastructure, airports, and oil facilities demonstrate nothing but a persistent intention to threaten security and stability in blatant violation of international norms and international law. The acts of aggression that have targeted commercial vessels in the region, tragically resulting in the loss of innocent seafarers' lives and injuries, are particularly alarming. And these attacks constitute a serious violation of state sovereignty, blatant breach of UN Charter and international law, a direct threat to freedom of navigation and safety of maritime routes, and a dangerous attempt to disrupt the flow of global trade and energy, including through threats to the Strait of Hormuz. Chair, these repeated attacks come at a time when the world is already facing major challenges to international navigation. The Kingdom expresses deep concern regarding this dangerous escalation, its direct threat to commercial vessels and seafarer safety, and its negative impact on global supply chains. The Kingdom's position is firmly grounded in the principles of international law, foremost among them the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which enshrines key principles including freedom of navigation for all, the prohibition of the use of force against civilian vessels, and the responsibility of coastal and flag states to ensure the safety of navigation within their areas of responsibility. And seafarers are the most exposed during times of tension. And in line with the IMO Secretary General's statement that there is no justification for attacking innocent seafarers or civilian ships, the Kingdom emphasizes that their protection is an urgent collective humanitarian and moral responsibility. Excellencies, from its strategic position and regional and international role, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia continues its efforts to strengthen.
Could you speak a little more slowly to make the life of the interpreters a little easier? Thank you.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I will do that. Excellencies, from its strategic position and its regional and international role, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia continues its efforts to strengthen maritime security through enhancing maritime surveillance, sharing information, raising readiness and response to threats, facilitating the smooth flow of global trade through safe and stable waterways. In conclusion, Chair, the Kingdom reaffirms the importance of protecting regional airspace, maritime passages, and freedom of navigation, as well as ensuring the stability of energy markets and global supply chains. And Saudi Arabia will continue to act as a responsible partner committed to maritime safety, the protection of life, and support for an international system based on law and collective cooperation. Thank you, Chair, and apologies to the interpreters for reading very fast.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, delegation of the UAE, and to the interpreter team for the wonderful job you're doing today. That's the Chair. The interpreters thank the Chair. Delegation of Qatar, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sayyid al-Rais.
In the name of God, the merciful and compassionate, Chair, the State of Qatar wishes to express its deepest gratitude and appreciation for the holding of this extraordinary session. We would like to thank the Secretary General of the IMO for his efforts to track closely the grave events affecting the safety and integrity of international shipping. Qatar resolutely condemns the attacks and threats from the Islamic Republic of Iran perpetrated against merchant vessels and seafarers, as well as shipping infrastructure in the region, especially the Strait of Hormuz. These threats and attacks are a flagrant violation of international law and the principles of freedom of navigation. Qatar also condemns the attacks which targeted Qatar and the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council, as well as the fraternal Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, which are attacks on sovereignty and a violation of the UN Charter. We commend the adoption of Resolution 2817 of the UN Security Council, which condemned these attacks and stressed the need to respect freedom of navigation and respect international law. These aggressions have direct impact on the safety and integrity of international shipping, and they jeopardize the lives of innocent seafarers, while also threatening the stability of international shipping routes, which in turn jeopardizes supply chains as well as energy supplies. And in this regard, we stress the need for protection of seafarers and protection of the safety and integrity of international shipping and freedom of navigation, especially in the Strait of Hormuz, in accordance with international law. And there should be refraining from any threats or attacks hampering such commerce. And we would like to support the efforts of the Organization of the Member States to enhance security in the region.
Muchas gracias a Qatar.
Thank you, Qatar. Morocco, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Kingdom of Morocco wishes to express its sincere thanks and appreciation to the Secretary General for his continued efforts and unwavering commitment during these challenging times. We particularly commend his regular and transparent communication, which enables us to closely monitor developments in the security situation in the Middle East. The Kingdom of Morocco is following with grave concern the recent developments and their direct repercussions on maritime safety and security. As a nation committed to promoting smooth and secure international trade, the Kingdom reaffirms strongly that freedom of navigation in straits used for international shipping, including the Strait of Hormuz, is a fundamental principle of international law as enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Any threat to this freedom constitutes a threat to the stability of the global economy and the security of energy supply chains. Chair, The Kingdom of Morocco condemns in the strongest terms the Iranian missile attack that violated the sovereignty and security of brotherly Arab states, the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Bahrain, the State of Qatar, the State of Kuwait, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom of Morocco considers this attack a flagrant violation of the sovereignty of these countries, an unacceptable affront to their security, and a direct threat to the stability of the region. The telephone calls made by His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God grant him victory, to a number of leaders, so phone calls to a number of leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries following the heinous Iranian attacks, reflect the strength and depth of the unwavering and steadfast spirit of fraternal solidarity that unites the Kingdom of Morocco with these countries. And we affirm our full solidarity with these sister nations in all legitimate measures they will take to respond to this aggression, to protect their security and ensure the safety of their citizens and residents. Chair, this escalation has also resulted in an unacceptable human cost. The Kingdom of Morocco expresses its deepest condolences to the families of the sailors and seafarers who lost their lives in these tragic circumstances. These men and women who ensure the continuity of global trade should never be targets or victims of armed conflicts. Their protection and ensuring their safety and well-being must remain a top priority in accordance with the instruments of the IMO and international law. Finally, the Kingdom of Morocco calls for maximum restraint and de-escalation. We urge all parties to prioritize dialogue and diplomatic means to resolve this dispute in full respect of international law. The IMO plays a crucial role in maintaining maritime safety and in protecting the lives of seafarers, and the Kingdom of Morocco reaffirms its commitment to supporting all efforts aimed at this goal. Thank you, Chair.
Gracias.
Thank you, Morocco. Liberia, please.
¿Puede volver a solicitar la palabra?
Could you request the floor again, please?
Cuando quiera, Liberia.
When you're ready, Liberia, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And sorry to the interpreters, I have a few edits, so please flow with me. The delegation of Liberia welcomes the convening of the 36th Extraordinary Session of the IMO Council in light of grave development unfolding in the Arabian Sea, the Sea of Oman, the wider Gulf region, particularly in and around the Strait of Hormuz, where commercial vessels transiting these waterways have been subject to strikes. Liberia expresses profound concern at the rapid deterioration of the maritime security environment. More than 1,000 vessels and their crews have been hampered by these events. Some ships have been directly attacked, resulting in damage, loss of life, and injury. Mr. Chair, at the time of this statement, at least 5 Liberian-flagged vessels have been directly affected. Additionally, more Liberian-flagged seafarers and ships has been impacted directly or indirectly. The frequency and severity of these incidents are increasing and pose a serious threat to international shipping, commerce, and human life. This delegation underscores the fundamental importance of freedom of navigation and innocent passage, principles enshrined in UNCLOS, which must be fully respected and safeguarded. Attacks on commercial shipping and any action that places seafarers at risk constitute a violation of these principles and long-standing norms governing conduct at sea. Seafarers are civilian professionals whose work serves the common good. They must never be instrumentalized or targeted in the course of hostilities. The safety, security, and welfare of seafarers are paramount. All parties should take immediate and tangible steps to ensure that crew members and commercial vessels are protected at sea, in ports, and while transiting international waterways. Liberia therefore urges all parties to exercise maximum restraint and to pursue de-escalatory measures. We call for immediate cessation of attacks on commercial shipping, full respect of international maritime law, including UNCLOS and applicable rules governing passage through straits used for international navigation. Enhanced cooperation among states and the IMO and relevant international organizations to restore safe navigation to protect seafarers, and the use of diplomatic channels, third-party mediation where necessary, and confidence-building measures to reduce tensions and prevent further escalation. Liberia stands ready to cooperate with member states and international partners in action to protect civilian mariners and preserve the uninterrupted flow of legitimate commerce. In protecting seafarers and safeguarding open sea lanes, the international community defends both human life and rule-based order that underpins global trade and stability. We urge the Council to issue a clear and unified message condemning attacks on commercial shipping, calling for immediate de-escalation, and refraining from impartial protection due to seafarer and commercial vessel. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gracias.
Thank you. Liberia, Spain, please.
¿Puede volver a solicitar la...
Could you request the floor again, please, Spain?
Ruego, nos disculpen un segundo.
My apologies. We're trying to resolve the problem of requests for the floor.
Gracias.
Spain. Thank you, Chair. And a good morning to all delegations. Spain is tracking with enormous concern the evolution of the situation in the Middle East. And Spain wishes to convey its solidarity with the message and words expressed by the Secretary General and endorse his concerns. The position of Spain in this conflict has been clear from the outset. Our country champions international law, de-escalation, a return to the negotiating table, and peace. We take advantage of this opportunity to convey Spain's support for and solidarity with the countries most affected by regional destabilization in the Middle East, and to restate our firm conviction that it is only through dialogue and diplomacy that stability and peace, which we all wish to see, will be reached in the Middle East. We demand maximum restraint, the protection of civilians and of civil infrastructure, and full respect for international law, international humanitarian law, and the obligation to comply with the principles of the United Nations Charter And we wish to recall the most vigorous condemnation of the attacks perpetrated by the Islamic Republic of Iran against the territories of member states of the Gulf Cooperation Council and Jordan, as was set forth in Resolution 2817 of this year of the UN Security Council. We also wish to express our deep concern regarding the consequences this conflict is having for international shipping and innocent seafarers who, yet again, are suffering at first hand and in disastrous ways from the consequences of geopolitical conflicts and tensions. Attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran on merchant ships which are in the zone must cease immediately. Spain wishes to make it clear that the right to freedom of navigation must prevail, and safe transit of merchant vessels through the Strait of Hormuz must be restored, given that this is one of the main global shipping routes, which is key to guaranteeing global supply chains. Only through a cessation of hostilities will we be able to mitigate the consequences. This conflict is wreaking on regional stability, the safety of global commercial routes, financial markets, energy prices, and food security. Thank you, sir.
Gracias a la delegación.
Thank you, Spain. We are coming close to 11 o'clock when we are supposed to take the coffee break. So we shall take the break and resume at 11:30. Thank you.